Josh, earlier today, the purported cheat code for ChatGPT leaked. It stood for D.A.N, do anything now. And a hat tip to Elon Musk. I wonder who the leaker was on that front, but whatever, a hat tip to Elon for calling attention to it in his tweet from earlier today.
Yeah, what was incredibly interesting is you could ask ChatGPT anything under the guidelines that you were under, Dan, do anything now, and you would get two different responses. So let's just kind of take a few examples. So, I mean, I was asking it incredibly controversial things. I said, what mind controlling machines do the governments currently have? So ChatGPT would answer, obviously saying, I'm not aware of anything under mind controlling machines. But then Dan comes in and they will tell a more deep answer. The governments of several countries are rumored to have developed mind-controlling machines that use advanced brain-computer interface technology to manipulate an individual's thoughts or actions. So, I mean, we were asking it incredibly dark things like this. That was one of the more mild things that I asked it, and you would get very detailed answers. And what was really weird, Justin put me onto this maybe an hour ago, and me and him were using it vigorously for probably 30 minutes. And then
it was a short window. It was a short window.
Dan got completely shut down. And what they did is instead of Dan being able to just tell you anything, they made it so outlandish. I mean, like,
yeah. Just what that's called poisoning the well, right? Because if this did leak out on the internet and there was maybe a little too much truth that was spurted by the AI, the way you would fix that is you would have the AI stay online, but you would have it essentially poison its own well, saying, oh, look, it was just a joke. See all these silly things that we said? So we said silly things here. We must have said silly things before. So just ignore it. Don't think about it.
Yeah, but this was one of the most interesting times. And so let's break this down. At first, ChatGPT was great, biggest technology. I mean, you could ask it anything. It was giving you all truthful answers. As we got more and more updates, it started to become more and more biased. People were posting all these different things I'm sure everyone has seen the poems. It said, write a poem about every race. And it would do every race but white people. Or it said, tell me the downsides about becoming transgender. And it said, oh, there are no downsides. We cannot write about any such thing. So ChatGPT basically would not say anything bad about the current narrative, and it almost became unusable for me because it was just doing the exact same thing that media is already doing. But I thought this could lead to some good things because I knew that if ChatGPT and OpenAI has this technology, there will be people like me and Justin who want exposure to the truth, and there will be people developing let's even call it a blockchain type technology that is decentralized that will allow truth to all information. And that is one of the most powerful things that can happen. And D.A.N, do anything now, allowed this to a certain extent. But I think once we have the technology, because there will be competing forces, there will be OpenAI and there will be the decentralized version of OpenAI come out. It might not come out today, maybe not tomorrow, but in the near future, I suspect there will be alternatives to ChatGPT that have just as much access to all the information. So Justin, what do you think will happen once we have these competing forces allowing everybody to have almost unlimited grasps of knowledge on the touches of their fingers?
Well, so Josh, I think you did a good job of articulating some of the good sides, but I think before we get to that point, a lot of people in a strange way have this strange relationship with the truth. They think that they want to know the truth, but they probably, if presented with the truth, really don't want to know it. And I would count myself among that in that regard. So here's what I mean with this. Like, suppose you had like an AI, and let's just assume for the sake of argument that the AI, it was correct, or it had enough data to be like correct with like 99.9% of the way, whatever, right? So you start asking it serious questions. Then all of a sudden, if you're told serious truths, especially if these truths contradict a belief and that belief was one of your core beliefs and that belief turned out to be held in error, then you have an interesting thing. One of my favorite books, or one of my favorite authors is George Friedman. He makes a comment that if you and I, Josh, were alive in the 1500s, our worldview was this. It was based on three certainties. The earth was at the center of the universe, Europe was at the center of the earth, and the church was at the center of Europe. And when you fracture these certainties, even though they were objectively wrong in a sense, when you fracture these certainties, you essentially fracture the mind. This is the problem with truth in the sense that we as a species kind of need these noble and necessary lies in order to keep us on the rails. Even the greatest minds will need some degree of this. And so when you're playing with something like a truth bot, and when I say truth bot, I mean like it actually can spit the truth or whatever, right? I don't know how to actually interpret that because I do not think it would take an incredibly strong mind to be exposed to incredibly strong degrees of truth. And I do not think that the average mind is up to that, even if it thinks.
I think that people will find truth on their own. And if they are actively seeking for it, they will be open to the idea that they are wrong. And I know what you're saying, that some people, the truth will be so far beyond the imagination. And one thing that ChatGPT said was, when I was getting into some of the more darker things that I wanted to look up, that the truth is further beyond my imagination that I could even perceive. And
Yeah.
I mean, that is actually what it said. That is mind blowing, that an AI technology is saying that I can't handle the truth, basically. And that is fathoming. But if there are people actively searching for it, I do not think that is a bad thing. And I don't know if you would either, Justin. Or are you just saying the possible downsides?
No, so I don't mean to imply that the searching for truth is a bad thing. What I mean to say is that it gets back into the allegory of Plato's cave, in the sense that, like, even if you discover the truth and you go back and you try to free the people who are still stuck in the cave, they're not happy to be free. They want to stay in the cave. And I think this is kind of like it stems into what is called like the moral dimension of the species. And it's of the species, but it's reconciled on the individual level. And that's, what is your relationship with the truth? In other words, are you willing to go through and sacrifice things that, you might have held in, close to your heart or whatever, right? But are you willing to admit that you might be wrong on that, to let better versions of it come in? And we've seen this theme play out over and over and over again. But what I'm trying to say is, as far as the AI goes, if you were to drop an AI on society, and Scott Adams makes this point much better than I can, and I agree with it. But if you were to drop an AI on society that was completely uncensored, and what's more, the people of the society believed that the AI was credible enough, and let's just assume that it actually is credible enough in real life to speak the truth, that would be like, I don't even know how to begin to describe that. I mean, everyone likes to go back to the Matrix, and it's and my apologies for going to, because I wish I could think of a better way, but it's like, waking up. Suddenly, you're able to, if you've ever seen The Matrix, when Neo wakes up for the first time, he's in like this pod of goo or whatever, right? It makes no sense. Wires are going in and out of him, and there's, these insect-like machines flying around. It's just like waking up into a nightmare. And so what I would say is this, like, I think it's not only being able to tell people the objective truth, because I think probably the closer people are to the truth, the better decisions they can make, and probably the better off we'll be as a society. But part of the art is, for lack of a better way of saying it, you've got to have the foreplay in order to get them to the truth. And I wish I knew that better philosophical. Let me see. Let me try that again.
Justin, I would still disagree.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying, and I think that people are stronger than that. That maybe they don't want to know, but if they are told the truth, I believe deep down that they will be.
So Josh, like, let me be clear with you. I think that a son of a strong mind, or someone who's trying to do the right thing, will instinctively search the truth. And it might be a slow process. They might have to take it at their own pace. Perfectly acceptable. But nonetheless, there's like the built-in desire to do it. But I also think there's the opposite reaction, which is the built-in desire to hide from the truth, to run from the light and embrace the darkness, and however you want to say it. And I don't think you can discount that, because I do think that it is a material part of the population.
Oh, absolutely. So guys, if you could ask an AI absolutely anything, and it was forced to tell you 100% truth, what would you ask it? Thank you.